What is up, hingers, gingers, and copyright infringers? Thanks for sitting down at the messy desk with me. Today, I want to do something that I've wanted to do for a while, something I've wanted to talk about for a while, something that I think, I don't know, it's a little rote to say anything is the secret sauce, right? Nothing's secret in the days of the internet, but something that no one ever talked to me about, and when I kind of stumbled onto it myself, it blew my mind a little bit. So before I reveal what the title already has revealed, we're going to be a little clickbaity, and I'm going to ask you some questions. Have you ever sat down to make a beat and you feel like it's a little daunting starting from total scratch? Or maybe you've sat down and you've thought, oh geez, I got a monetized YouTube channel now, I can't just sample Rihanna or Shakira or Cymbalta or Viagra, right? I'm going to get fucking yeeted by the copyright gods. Can't possibly do it. Or have you ever looked deeply into the eyes of someone so perfect that you fell in love instantly? You felt this connection that would stick with you for the rest of your life, and you find yourself unable to pull your eyes away from them even. And then you realize you're looking at your own reflection? If you answered yes to any of those questions, today's video is for you. Today, I want to talk about sampling yourself. So, let's talk about it. Okay, so sampling yourself, self-sampling, it's all a big blanket. It can mean a lot of different things. The thing that I like to do the most is take something that already works in a track and use it again as a different part of the track. For instance, I often take the main sample, the main chopped up sample I have, and pitch it up an octave and kind of use it for ambience. Just super easy. I know it'll work. Always works. Today, I took it a little further and I kind of went to town. So first, I want to show you the track that I'm working with here, my starting point, and then we'll talk about what I did for this kind of fun challenge-esque project. So this is the track that we're working with. It's called Escaping Stasis. It's the sort of primitive version of what would eventually become my track Escaping Stasis, which was released through Mystery Circles. Link down there, and you should buy it because proceeds go to AfroRack, and it's really awesome. Ironically, this track started with me sampling myself. And the way that it started with that was I had this sort of meandering loop that I'd recorded from the Digatone. I used the pickup machines on the OCTATRACK, which I might do a video on soon. Comment down below if that's something you're interested in. Where I basically made a loop with the Digatone, saved that as a sample, and I kind of... It didn't stand on its own. It was just sort of meandering and boring, and I'll play it. It's fine. But listen. I just realized I don't have my headphones on. I should probably put these bad boys on. So you get it, right? It's pretty, but it's not a song, right? It's not a full track. So what I did was I took that and I sliced it, and it sounds like this. So then I pitched it down and it sounds like this. Oof. Yeah. And so that's great and perfect and awesome. And I built this whole track around it. And it's great and it's perfect and it's an amazing track and it's a hit and we all love it. What I decided to do that would be fun was take only the source material from this song, this project, and try to make something vastly different just using the same sample set, basically. So I have this main sample, I have some drums that I resampled, and I have a bass that I resampled, and I also resampled the master. So with all this new stuff, what can I do? Well, let's go ahead and take a little journey over to pattern 9. I'm just gonna play it for you, and then we'll talk about what's going on. So let's do that. So that's incredibly different. I mean, if you didn't know that these were using the same samples, you might think that these are totally different tracks. So let's talk about what I did to make that sound like that. It's actually not that complicated. It was super easy. I made this in about 15 minutes. The first thing I did was I went and assigned pattern 9 here. I chose pattern 9 completely arbitrarily. I could have chose pattern 3, but I just wanted it to be very clear that this is something else. I chose pattern 9 and I assigned it to part 2. And the reason that I did that is that I wanted to take the same samples and process them differently. And you need parts to do that. I'll go ahead and put my parts video here, and you can check out what I mean. It's really useful stuff for the OCTATRACK. So what I did was I just took the same main sample, and instead of pitching it down, I pitched it up 2 semitones. I put some delay on it, and I put a really tight amp envelope on it, just kind of this plucky little thing. It sounds like this. So that was all I did. And that already sounds like something totally new. The next thing I did was I took the drums, I resampled all the drums in the track, and I literally just put that as a loop right here. And it sounds like this. So, I mean, it's literally just the drums, but because it's playing at almost 40 BPM slower, it's not as recognizable. We have it heavily filtered. It's more of a percussive layer in this track. And I used a part of that loop. I sliced it to make a little kick, which I also pitched down, and it sounds like this. There's also a little bit of compression going on to make it a little beefier. And so all together, that sounds like this. And then here, I saved the drums as a different sample, and this was an accident. I accidentally set a loop point here. Ended up giving me this weird kind of glitchy thing, which sounds like this. And that's just kind of happening every so often. And then over here, I literally just resampled the bass, just one note, and then processed it a bit differently. Bass is pretty simple. I just thought for consistency's sake, I would use the same bass just so it's all coming from, youch, I just smacked my stand here. Anyway, I just thought for consistency's sake, it'd be fun if it came from the same track. So yeah, super simple stuff. Ultimately, it really was just taking the same sound sources and just processing them differently and putting them in a different context. And the reason that it might sound so obvious and so simple is that it really is a simple trick to get a jump start on a beat. This guy makes beats fast with this one simple trick. Doctors hate him. Literally, I'm living a BuzzFeed article here. You can just sample yourself. And like, obviously there's some fun in sampling tracks that you really love or whatever. It's not always as fun to sample yourself, but I think it's a fun challenge. And in the spirit of it being a fun challenge, I did it again. Here we come to pattern 13, which is part 3. So again, watch my video on parts. It'll explain why I did this. I wanted a third way to process a lot of the same samples. I ended up saving them, some of them as new samples, just so I could process them even differently. And it sounds like this. This is my favorite, actually. So again, I just took the same sample, the same original digatone loop, but I treated the sample differently this time. So I resaved it so I could add some different slices, and I made a slice grid. I believe it was of 4 slices. Let me zoom out here. Yeah, 4 slices. And then I just played them in, and just instantly I knew it was going to be a heckin' vibe. I knew that it was going to be a vibe called Quest up in here. I knew that there were going to be some good vibrations and that girls would go ahead and reach out and grab their phone and tell their friends how much they like this beat. Let's listen. I don't mean to jerk myself off here too much, but like there's something so yearning about those chords, and that's my favorite. Like, that's the thing I chase when I make music, is that sense of like wistful, melancholic yearning. I love it. All my favorite music sounds like that. So whenever I manage to make something that sounds like that, it just makes me feel good inside of my heart. So I did that, and then I took the drums and I pitched them down, I believe. Yeah, and it sounds like this. something you might recognize if you've listened to Escaping Stasis is that that sounds a lot like the outro of Escaping Stasis. I mean, the full produced track, by the way. And it is, sort of. I took the drums from Escaping Stasis, I resampled the entire thing, and I pitched it down an octave and left warping off in Ableton, and then distorted the shit out of it. And that's how I get this big kind of crunchy halftime vibe. And it's so nice. So I love that in time with the... And it feels so like artificial and mechanical, which I feel like backs up this sort of really natural human feel of the chords feeling so emotive, but yet kind of degraded by the fact that they've been sampled multiple times and pitched down multiple ways. And then I have another kick. And this is a little glitch sound that I made. I believe the original source... Yeah, the original source is just a little bit of percussion from the drums looped and then pitched up quite a bit. And it adds a nice augment to this snare. Then we got the bass, which again is just the bass resampled. Simple. Yeah, that's it, honestly. Super short video, I feel like. Ultimately, I just wanted to show you that this is a thing that you can do, because no one ever told me that, yeah, just like take your own stuff and sample it. I'm sure for a lot of you, or some of you, this is going to feel like a useless video or like a, yeah, duh. But I think a lot of you are kind of newer to music and newer to production on the OCTATRACK. And I want you to kind of learn along with me, because when I learned this, it blew my mind, and then it changed the way I make music. So you'll notice whenever I like do a track breakdown, specifically in Ableton, I'll always have at least one track where I'm like, yeah, I just resampled this thing, because there's infinite ways that you can make your already existing sonic material into something else. And for like a masterclass on this, I urge you to check out the stylings of Mr. Bill. If you don't already know who he is, holy crap. I mean, he's a genius. Like I said, I want you to learn alongside with me. I've never tried this before, just literally reconstituting a track that I've already used, which already sampled myself, to make something totally new out of the same sonic material, and to limit myself to that. Like this snare sample, I wouldn't have made this on my own. Like I never would have synthesized that or picked that sample necessarily. And similarly, like this groove, I wouldn't have ever happened upon that, but I just did because I chose to resample myself and process my stuff in this sort of limiting and yet infinitely varied way. And so, yeah, that is sort of the whole video, really. I didn't want this video to be 60 minutes long, going into in-depth track breakdowns. Suffice to say, I used the lo-fi effect a lot. I love the lo-fi effect. I used a lot of parameter locks and trigger conditions, and it's making music on the OCTATRACK. So that stuff is secondary to the principle of the video, which is try sampling yourself. What do you have to lose, right? At the worst, you take something that you might not have used in any case and end up with something new and different and cooler. Or you take something that's already cool, like my perfect single that you should go stream and buy, support kids and help them make music, and then make something that I don't very much like, which is the second thing. And then a third thing that I very much enjoy and might make a full track out of. Kind of an Ouroboros situation again here. Chicken or the egg? Which one comes first? Either way, they each hatch into shitty music. Let me know if you do this, if you sample yourself, or if you've never sampled yourself, try it and send me the result. Tell me about it. Tell me some interesting things that you tried that worked out or didn't work out. Like for me, a new trick of mine, a new thing that I've accidentally fallen in love with doing, is putting really tight loop points on samples for glitching. And like anybody who makes IDM has got to know that like you do that, but not me, because I'm dumb and I am always learning and we're always learning. So maybe let's be positive about it. I know that's hard for me to do, so maybe I can push you to do the same thing. Let's be positive. On that note, I think that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. Hope you have a great week. I'll be back next week with a new video. I'm going to go ahead and put the poll up on Patreon tonight for my beautiful patrons who voted on this video to vote for the next video. And we'll just keep it rolling like that, man. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for watching and spending this time with me. Really, I appreciate it more than I could ever say. Whether you are a new person to the channel or whether you've been with me since the first video, any like, comment, love, subscribe, burning effigy in worship of me, really, whatever, all of it just seeks to fluff up my already puffed up ego, and I can't thank you enough for that. So keep contributing to that, keep contributing to my unhinged narcissism, and I'll keep churning out these videos, baby. Thanks for watching. My name's Daniel. This is The Messy Desk, and I love you more than I love myself. which is a lot, apparently. Go resample yourself, send me the result, and I'll see you next week. Peace.